Who did Patrick's homework? Patrick never did homework. Too boring, he said. He played hockey and basketball and Nintendo instead. His teachers told him, Patrick, do your homework or you won't learn a thing. And it's true, sometimes he did feel like an ignoramus. But what could he do? He hated homework. Patrick never did his homework. He felt it was too boring. Instead of doing the homework, he played outdoor games like hockey, basketball, and Nintendo. Patrick's teacher warned him to complete his homework. She felt that if Patrick doesn't do his homework, then he'll not be able to learn anything. The statement what she said was true because he used to feel like an ignorant person who was completely helpless. He hated homework. Then one day he found his cat playing with a little doll and he grabbed it away. To his surprise, it wasn't a doll at all, but a man of the tiniest size. He had a little wool shirt with old-fashioned breeches and a high tall hat, much like a witch's. He yelled, "Save me! Don't give me back to that cat! I'll grant you a wish. I promise you that." One day he saw his cat playing with a doll, so he went and grabbed it away. When he saw it, it wasn't a doll, but a tiny man. He wore a woolen shirt with an old-fashioned trousers and wore a tall hat which made him look like a witch. The doll cried and requested Patrick not to give him back to the cat. The tiny man also promised Patrick that he will grant him a wish if he helped him. Patrick couldn't believe how lucky he was. Here was the answer to all of his problems. So he said, "Only if you do all my homework till the end of the semester. That's 35 days. If you do a good enough job, I could even get A's." Patrick couldn't believe his luck as he got an answer to all his problems through this tiny man. So he asked the tiny man if he could help him to do his homework till the end of the semester, that is about 35 days, and help him to get A grade. Patrick thought that with the help of Elf, he can improve his grades. The little man's face wrinkled like a dishcloth thrown in the hamper. He kicked his legs and doubled his fists, and he grimaced and scowled and pursed his lips. "Oh, am I cursed? But I'll do it." As soon as the elf heard this, his face wrinkled like a cloth lying in the basket used for washing. First, he did not accept what Patrick said, so he kicked his legs, doubled his fists, and made unhappy faces. He asked Patrick if he was cursed to do that work, but finally he promised to do the work. And true to his word, the little elf began to do Patrick's homework. Except there was one glitch. The elf didn't always know what to do and he needed help. Help me, he would say, and Patrick would have to help in whatever way. "I don't know this word," the elf squeaked while reading Patrick's homework. "Get me a dictionary." "No, what's even better? Look up the word and sound it out by each letter." The little elf began to do his homework, but there was one problem. The elf needed help as he didn't know all the things. So Patrick had to help him. He often cried for help as he didn't know the meaning of the words. So he asked Patrick to bring him a dictionary or something that can help him to identify the letter and also the sound of the word. When it came to maths, Patrick was out of luck. "What are timetables?" the elf shrieked. "We elves never need that. And addition and subtraction and division and fractions. Here, sit down beside me. You simply must guide me. Elves know nothing of human history. To them, it's a mystery." So the little elf, already a shouter, just got louder. "Go to the library. I need books, more and more books, and you can help me read them too." Patrick was out of luck when it came to maths because the elf knew nothing in maths. The elf did not know anything about timetables. The elf also explained that it never needed the mathematical concepts like addition, subtraction, division, and fractions. For these reasons, Patrick had to sit next to the elf and guide him. The elf did not know anything about human history. It was strange for him, so he shouted at Patrick to visit the library and get him more books to read. As a matter of fact, every day in every way, that little elf was a nag. Patrick was working harder than ever, and was it a drag? He was staying up nights, had never felt so weary, was going to school with his eyes puffed and blurry. The elf was either troubling, complaining, or asking Patrick to do something all the time. Patrick worked hard. He was awake at night, and he had never been so tired like this, and was going to school with his dull-looking eyes. Finally, the last day of school arrived, and the elf was free to go. As for homework, there was no more, so he quietly and slyly slipped out the back door. Now it was the final day, and the elf was ready to go, and there was no more homework to do. So quietly, without speaking a word, he moved out from the back door. Patrick got his A's. His classmates were amazed. His teachers smiled and were full of praise. And his parents, they wondered what had happened to Patrick. He was now the model kid, cleaned his room, did his chores, was cheerful, never rude, like he had developed a whole new attitude. Patrick scored A grade. His classmates were surprised. His teachers appreciated him, and his parents were curious to know what made him so perfect. He became a model kid who cleaned his room, did his work perfectly, became a happy child who was never rude, and developed a complete new behavior and look. You see, in the end, Patrick still thought he had made that tiny man do all his homework. But I'll share a secret just between you and me. It wasn't the elf. Patrick had done it himself. Carol Moore. Finally, we can conclude that it was not the elf, but Patrick himself who did his work. The elf just propelled him to move forward.